everyone, Jenna here. This is a lesson for the parents on how to use the stamp game work with your child. So we included in our digital handouts a printable version of the stamp game. So you can find it. It includes these small colored squares in green and red and blue, and you'll want to print those out in color, of course, and begin by cutting them each out, which is a little bit of a tedious task. You might invite your child to help you if their scissors skills are strong enough, and if they can make the squares relatively all the same size. And you'll want to start with, a good pile of each of those, maybe about 20 of each. The thousands could have a few less because you won't get that high with them, but having at least 20 of each of the others is a good place to start. And then that will allow you to play the game. So if you haven't already done that, you might want to go and do that, and then come back once you have your materials, and you can kind of manipulate them while you watch. When you're ready, we can begin. The other thing that you'll want to find is this paper. So this is what the children are used to using. Got it upside down there. This is what they're used to using to record their problems. And some of them may have seen this already, for some it may be new, but we find that the boxes help them to figure out where to put all of the numbers. So you can begin by writing them a simple 4-digit addition problem. So we'll always start by introducing addition, then we work our way up to subtraction, multiplication, and division, and we can do all of that with this material. So this is just a way to give the children something to manipulate, something that they can physically see and touch to represent these numbers, so that they can really understand what's happening when they add them together. So we'll start by writing an addition problem, and when I start with a child, I always write a problem that doesn't require any changing. So in Montessori lingo, we call that a static addition problem, as opposed to a problem that requires carrying over from one category to the next, which we'll refer to as a dynamic problem. So we'll always introduce a child at the static level for each operation. So I'm going to write something with rather small numbers in each category. We'll say 2,354. And then I'm going to put my addition symbol in the box to the left, like so. And then underneath, I'll carefully consider a problem that will always add up to less than 10 in each category. So maybe 4,123. There we go. So again, in the beginning, you write that problem, you do this part, and then we'll invite the child at the end to fill in the answers at the bottom. So then I'm going to look at my problem. I'm going to invite the child to build the first number. So sometimes it helps to cover up the bottom number so that they only can look at the top number. And then we can show them how to use the manipulatives. We'll make sure the thousands are on the left, and we'll start by building 2 thousands, like so. Then we'll build 3 hundreds, just like we wrote it. 1, 2, 3. Looks like 5 in the tens column. So we'll build 5 blue tens. Now these colors are ones that the children are likely familiar with at this point. We use them in the classroom to represent the different categories and to help the child have clarity in their mind about what they're doing. Looks like 4 units here, so I'm going to build 4 units on the right hand side. So there's my number, my first number represented with the stamps, we call them, 2,354. Now you can take your pencil or other writing instrument and kind of place it below the first number so that there's a little bit of a division on the working surface between the first number and the second number. And we can do that with the child as well. And then below the pen or pencil, we can build the next number. So just kind of leave a bit of space, and I'm going to build 4 thousands. 100 it looks like, 2 10s. Very simple, very easy to grasp, and this probably will be pretty straightforward for your child as well in the beginning stages. Looks like 3 units there. All right, so then I've got my problem visually represented. We have our first number, our second number, and then we can remind the child, what happens when we do addition? We put things together. So we'll take our pen or pencil away, and then we can push everything together. So we'll start by squishing in the units, pushing the 10s up, pushing the 100s up together, and the thousands. So we've added them together. Now, this is our answer. We can pose the question, how can we find out how much we have? Well, we can count it, of course. So when you count, just like we do when we do math on paper, we're always going to begin on the right side with the units. So we'll start by counting the units up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 units. And you can prompt your child to write 7 on the right side underneath the units. And then we count the 10s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Also 7. And again, you can invite the child to write 7. And then you can invite your child to count the hundreds. 1, 2, 3, 4 hundreds it looks like. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 thousands to end with. That's it. We have our answer. And then we can encourage the child to read the answer back to us, perhaps helping them if they need a little bit of help. At this stage, it's good to say it the same way we would read the number out and practice doing that. So we could say 6,477 is our answer. Wonderful. And then you would keep doing this again and again, different numbers, different problems, but always without changing, until you feel like your child is confident at this level. And when you see their complete confidence here, they understand what's happening, they're able to do a whole problem from start to finish on their own, that's when you know it's time to move on to the next part. So when you observe for that readiness, you can begin doing what we call dynamic addition. So that's where we'll allow the numbers to get high enough that we might have to change from one category to the next. So you would introduce this the same way you did before, by writing the number yourself. So this time, without even maybe saying something to your child, you would just write a number that's a little bit higher. So I'll say 3,875 plus 1,468. And then, of course, we'll draw our equal sign. And there is our problem. So I'm going to begin just like I did before, building 3 thousands. Eight hundreds. And then it looks like 7 10s, 7, and then we've got 5 units to begin with. So this is where it can help to have your child set up in a workspace with plenty of room. In the classroom, we find it's better to orient this work going the long ways on the table, as you see I've done here, because if we don't, then we sometimes run out of space at the bottom to build the next number. So you'll want to make sure your child has a large table to work on, or a large rug space where the numbers won't begin to fall off. And if you do find that it's crowded or you're working in a smaller space, it's fine to just squeeze the tiles in next to each other and make a second row. It usually works out okay. So So just like we did before, we'll put our pen underneath and we'll build our second number down below. 1,400, 6 tens, and your child will get quite quick with this as well, but in the beginning it can be painstakingly slow for them to get the numbers ready, and that's okay. It's all part of the process, so just give them lots of time. You can walk away, let them build the numbers, come back, check on them a few minutes later. That's all fine. Oops. 8 units I'm going for here. Okay. All right. So now we have both of our numbers built, just like we've done before. We can remove our pen, combine them together. Wow, the lines have gotten very long. The child may notice immediately that there's far more than 10 there. So at this point, we can let them know that we're going to count them up, just like we did, starting with the units. Only this time, if we get to 10, we say stop, because something special happens. So we'll start counting our units from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stop! 10 units? We can't have 10 units. 10 units becomes something new. 10 units is a 10. So we want to collect those units. And you'll want to go nice and slow for this part. Make sure your child understands what's happening. We'll take our 10 units, and we're going to show that they're the same. We can't have 10 units like this. We must trade it for a 10. So I'm going to put these 10 units away and get out a 10 instead. We'll add the new blue 10 into the next column. Now we can continue counting our units. 1, 2, 3. Can we have 3 units? Yes. So we'll write 3 in that box at the bottom, or invite the child to. Now we can count up our 10s, starting from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stop! 10 tens? That can't be. We can only have up to 9. 10 tens becomes something new. 10 tens becomes 100. So we'll trade those 10 tens. We'll put them away, scoop them up into our hands, and we'll swap them for a new 100 from the box. You'll want to make sure to emphasize we're going to get out a new one, not take one from the current row. So we can put our 10 tens away, and we'll take that 100 that we traded them for and slide it over to the next category. Now we can finish counting our 10s. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 tens. Okay, ready to count the hundreds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, it's happened again. Now we'll have to trade our 10 hundreds for something different. When we have 10 hundreds, it becomes 1,000. So again, from the box, we'll get out our new 1,000, put our hundreds away, and then we can slide the 1,000 over into the next category. Now we have 4 hundreds left, and we'll count up our thousands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 thousands. So our finished answer would be 5,443. At that point, you can invite your child to carry on, and they can begin writing their own problems. So that can be fun for them, get to choose their own number to begin with, and then their own number to add on to it. You'll just want to be careful that they know to keep the thousands low so that they don't exceed 10,000, because that's where the game at this level stops. We don't have squares. Sometimes we make squares, and if your child does get to that point and accidentally finds that they have 10 or 11 or even 12 thousands, you can introduce them to the idea of 10,000, and you can even make your own 10,000 stamps out of blue paper. So they would be blue because the tens categories are blue even up at the thousands level, and the pattern repeats. So you could make your own 10,000 stamps if need be, or you could just work to keep the problems low. And then at this level, we want to make sure that we're keeping this fun for the child. So it's more about accurate process than it is about getting an accurate answer at the end. If you find that your child's answer is slightly off, perhaps they didn't put the stamps away, or perhaps they didn't get exactly the right number back out, or they got confused at some point, it's okay. Emphasize the practice element and just encourage them to do it again, and mostly help them to understand the correct process for changing. Okay, of course, reach out with any questions that you have. This is one of my very favorite materials. We'll be doing more lessons soon on how to do subtraction, multiplication, and division with this material. But for now, this is a great thing to practice with all of the older children, and we hope you have a lot of fun working together with the stamp game. See you next time.